Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday afternoon if you're on the West Coast, mid-afternoon if you're on the East Coast of the U.S. And let's see, I believe it's 8 or 9 p.m. in the U.K. where our guest is going to be joining us from. Maybe even it's a Friday morning in Australia if you're listening from there. But thrilled to have all of you with us. Thank you so much for joining us for another SupConnect Live on Thursday at this time. We have a great guest today, really an OG, one of the originals in the stand-up paddle world, specifically inflatables today. I'm excited to talk about that, but just a couple things. Remembering this is live, but we also record it. It's available immediately on SupConnect's IGTV, and then later it will be on their YouTube. We do have a Facebook group too, so if there's any follow-up, but you're welcome to ask questions here also. Hashtag SupConnect Live discussions is the Facebook group. Love you to join us there also if you have any questions. So thanks again for being here. We're going to be talking to John Hibbard, CEO and co-founder of Red Paddle Company. He's in the UK, so this is really, he's being a good sport because it's quite late at night there where he's going to be joining us from. I think he's originally from there. We'll have to ask him that amongst other things. But truly one of the, if not the iconic brand in the ice up inflatable world. So excited to talk to him today. Lucky enough to have met him before about 3 years ago in
Chris,
Canada.
how you doing?
Great to see you, John.
You too.
Thank you for staying up this evening.
That's
for
all right.
you.
It's about nine o'clock here, so not too
9
late.
o'clock. That's it. Yeah. So good for the UK and European people to be able to hear too, but sorry, it's close to bedtime. I don't know about you. I'm getting older. I go to bed pretty early these days. But great to talk with you and so much to talk about. Kind of would love to start with you and your story because you weren't just a windsurfer. You were a champion windsurfer. And it's interesting to me how many people in the stand-up paddle world come from that.
Yeah, I guess it's a bit of a progression, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
for me, it was a progression partly due to injury and also partly due to, I guess, kind of entrepreneurial business sort of aspirations. And actually, unless you're a world champion, which I wasn't at windsurfing, then you have to find ways to make it work. And I was professional for 8 or 9 years back in the first decade of the 2000s, and yeah, you kind of have to run yourself as a bit of a promotional machine, I guess, and marketing and media and everything else, sort of something you have to learn on the job, really. So for me, it was just transferring those skills from, and actually a passion for that sort of thing, from marketing yourself and your sponsors to marketing or creating a brand and a company. So it was a kind of easy transition almost.
Yeah, you had training, but you've gone a little different direction. Most people I've spoken to who came from the windsurfing world had existing companies. So they were already building a large board, had international distribution, and still some of those companies, they were making hard boards. But you really went a different direction and got right into the inflatable world. Something a little different and started a new company.
Yeah, I think because so I love windsurfing. Windsurfing is an amazing sport, and I was lucky enough to windsurf in some amazing locations and some amazing conditions. But I think probably one thing I missed, and potentially because I was competing, it's so focused on competing that I had friends in windsurfing, but I didn't windsurf with them really. I travelled with them and I would compete at events with them. But when you're on the off season or when you're training, you wouldn't spend too much time with them, or at least I wouldn't, because I didn't want to show them what I was working on, or they're just forever competitive basically. So paddleboarding for me was, although when I started racing, I did the very early Waterman Tour, or APP as it is now, events, Sup World Cup in Hamburg and those kind of racing events. I did this, I think it was the second year of the Battle of the Paddle. So I was very involved in the competing side as well, but it's not so much a technique driven thing. It was more, racing obviously is a fitness and endurance thing. So I enjoyed paddleboarding because it was a social thing. And that's the thing that really hit me very early on, was that I could take my friends and family paddleboarding and there was no kind of competition involved really. I'd sprint up, across the bay or something, but that was it. So for me, it was different to windsurfing. It wasn't so much about competition. It was about the kind of social aspect. So then that's what led me to make or start a paddleboard brand that was inflatable, because all of my friends and my family loved coming with me, but nobody wanted to buy a board. And I don't know if this was a European thing or a British thing, but they were heavy, 12 foot 6, lumps glass fiber. They no one had
Very
nowhere to
heavy.
store them. Heavy, nowhere to store them. No, we're not like you guys in the US with big trucks. Which I would always go to US. Like, oh, that's a big truck, but I couldn't drive a big truck down the road to my house. It wouldn't fit. And so most of my friends and family didn't want to buy the boards because they just couldn't store them, transport them. So that's really where I guess the inflatable thing came from. Now we didn't invent it, obviously. It was already a thing, but it wasn't a very good thing. So I thought, well, we could probably make it better. And that's really what really sparked my, I suppose, entrepreneurial element of me, but also the fact that through windsurfing you get involved in product design, product development. So I just looked at what we had and thought, I'm pretty sure we can make this better. And so I ended up working with my then sales sponsor, who were very expert in building textile product. So not glass fiber, not composite, not carbon product, but sails, materials. And obviously that's really what an inflatable paddleboard is. It's a material textile based product, obviously that's glued and stitched, and so kind of similar to a sail. And actually, you create shape in a board very much how you create shape in a sail. So we just took this kind of like that vertical aerofoil and put it flat on the ground. Thought, right, how can we create rocker and curve in the board? And we used a similar sort of thinking and mindset. So I think we were probably kind of a little bit further on the road where everyone else was thinking about mowing foam and glassing and composite. We were thinking about textile. So we were already halfway there.
Well, you said you weren't the very first, but I think of you as one of the first. You were one of the first.
Yeah, sure.
2008 was early,
Yes.
especially from our North American perspective. We were a little late to the game on picking up on the inflatable thing, but finally, oh my gosh, this year it's crazy.
Yeah.
I've never seen so many in Dana Point Harbor here.
Yeah.
But
Well,
you also just your innovations and your thinking and just what you have done in terms of furthering the game for everyone, because of course, there has been a lot of copying of things that you have done well because of you're so focused on R&D from early, has been amazing. So talk about those early processes of
yeah, well, I actually think the US market, US and Canadian market, were actually quite early with inflatable boards. They got in, but they got out almost immediately because it was just, whoa, this is actually this sucks. It doesn't work, and it kind of never went anywhere. Whereas I wasn't going to accept that. I thought, come on, we must be able to make it better. So really, it was a case of getting some made initially, or making some initially, and go, yeah, these suck. Right, how can we make these better? And so understanding, that's why I go back to that textile thing, and understanding how when you laminate two sheets together, if they're different material, if they're different ply material, you can get different curves to be created. So we just start playing around with it, and I just desperately wanted to find a way to make them stiffer, for example, or take higher pressure, and then therefore, one thing just led to another, to another, to another. It was, obviously where we're at now is a journey. The first thing I wanted to do was to make them stiff. So that was the first thing we worked on. And then I thought, well, I'm really tired of pumping this thing up. I would go into shops actually and go, yes, we've got this amazing thing. It's cool paddleboarding. So in the UK, we were very much the first people to show the sport. And I would go in and go, yeah, it's really cool. You stand on the board and you paddle. And by the way, you pump it up as well. So people were like, what? No. So I stand on it and I paddle, and then I pump it up as well. And I was like, yeah, look, I'll show you. And I'd pump the board up, and I was so tired after like 5 minutes of pumping up, I could barely speak. I got extremely fit actually, just pumping up boards. So I thought, right, I've got to solve that issue. I need to get a better pump. So one thing just led to another. So that's really, and I think that's probably in all innovation, that is how it works, isn't it? You come up with one idea, you can then improve on that idea. So yeah, stiffening systems, material technologies, a lot of what you see around now, it is something that we were involved in from the early days. Obviously, durability is a massive thing. Longevity of the product, so it make it last. The pumps, obviously, making a board that can pump up easily, store easy. It's been an amazing journey actually. And yeah, sure, people have copied us, but it's kind of the way of the world, isn't it? You get a bit of first mover advantage, but there's a kind of being flattered by people copying you. But I think it's fine. You need competition. Actually, when we started, it was very hard to get traction in the market. There wasn't enough people paddling. There wasn't enough offer of product, and what we needed was competition. And a race isn't a race without a competitor. So I'm all for competitors. That's great. That's kind of what makes the competitive nature of you come out and makes you want to do better. So
Well,
Yeah,
12 years in, and you have absolutely established yourself as the top, the quality top brand. And you have, let's talk a little bit about the boards. There's such a range and other products too. In fact, I did a little Zoom chat about expeditioning, and somebody asked about your new board, and we weren't able to. I don't know if it's
yeah,
new, but there's an expedition specific package, I think. Be sure to mention that one because we had some
yeah,
questions about it.
yeah. Yeah, so I mean, the range is diverse, but it's actually the bulk of what we sell is actually still what I would
That,
class as all round, which I
mhm.
think is brilliant because that just means there's more people coming into the sport. There's new people coming into the sport. We always say it's the bicycle of the water. You're getting a board that you can kind of do
Yep.
everything on. You can surf on it. You can paddle up the river. You can cross the bay on it. You can get the kids on the front, dog on the front. So the all round boards are by far our biggest sellers. But what we're seeing emerging is this touring thing. So the thing about expedition is the touring sector, and I think one thing that I was very keen on in the early days of paddleboarding, and particularly starting Red, was that we shouldn't try and carry on to this point of elite performance, because kind of windsurfing did that, and it just went, which is brilliant if you're part of it and you had the money and time to spend on it. But eventually you would just alienate pretty much everybody else because you were just looking for the most radical conditions, most radical equipment. Inflatable boards have kept the sport grounded. I think if we'd left it to composite, we would all be we wouldn't be any of us doing it, but we'd all be riding 24-inch wide racing boards or surfing boards that barely floated us. But inflatable boards, just for their very nature, even despite all the innovation, are kind of set. There's certain set things you can and can't do with them. So, but touring is one thing they really lend themselves to. So we're seeing this really emerging sort of trend of people wanting to maybe not go that far. When I say expedition and adventuring, it doesn't have to be hundreds of
No,
miles. It could be 5 miles. It could be 3 miles. But it's going from A to B and maybe back to A, but maybe not. Maybe getting a lift back from B. And so we're really trying to focus on making those boards better for that. So how we have our V-hull Voyager board, which is, again, using our understanding of rocker curves and how we can build it into the board. We have a lovely V that breaks that surface tension, gets the glide going, but it tapers out into a nice flat section in the midpoint at the back, so the board's still very stable, but still very fast. So it's things like that where we're trying to develop for the every man, every person.
yeah. And I do think that's brilliant because I live in a surf culture area, and definitely people have that vision still of the surfboard style. But to me, the touring style is the best board.
Yeah.
I'd love to see everybody start on it because
Yes.
once you get going, if you love it, you do want to get some glide, some bang for your buck for every effort that you put in. So
Yeah.
that has been for some who are get into it. Well, would I want an inflatable? Because it doesn't have as much of that. But here you've created with,
Yeah.
a V hull,
Yeah.
something to counter that helps with the glide. You
Yeah.
also have
Absolutely.
all kinds of, and I think some people are finally catching on, little things do count. And you
Oh
have
yeah.
all kinds of little innovations and well thought out placements of attachments and, the bungees and the fun stuff.
Yeah, well, and I think probably that comes from being paddleboarders, and I think that's where the barriers to entry are fairly low to be an inflatable brand. We all know that. If you wanted to set up a brand with your name stamped on it, it wouldn't take you very long to find someone to make you something, put a logo on it. So I think a lot of what we see as brands or companies in inflatable side of sport aren't really paddlers. They're jumping on a trend. It's very much rinse and repeat products. If you stripped all the graphics off them, they're all basically the same construction, same materials. They may or may not be good at marketing, so you might favor one over the other. But we're a bit different. We're making boards that we want to use. So everyone in the company, there's 30 plus people working at Red Paddle Co now. We all paddleboard. We all get out in the water, and so we kind of do our own development, and we listen to the customers as well because they go, oh, it would be really good if it did this. Good idea. Let's make something that works like that. So we try and you have to be careful when you innovation. You don't want to go too quickly, too fast, because that's where you end up with problems. But yeah, there's things like our stiffening systems, the way our handles are, the twin fin systems, those sort of things that I think are testament to the fact that we paddle, and they're not just copied from somebody else. So yeah, there's lots of small bits, small features on the boards.
And the pump you mentioned, but your double chamber pump is all that makes all the difference.
Yeah, well, yeah. Who wants to be pumping up? You want to be paddling, and yeah, sure, you can buy 12-volt pumps, but if anyone who's a bit of a bought one, they don't last that long. And actually, the best thing to do before you're doing sport is warming up. So actually, pumping up is a great warm up, but let's not make it too strenuous. So
Yeah.
the double chamber pump, it's simple physics, isn't it? you just get a lot more air in much quicker,
Yeah.
and then you switch the gears to make it easy to get that high pressure.
Yeah. So you mentioned the all-arounder being most popular. Somebody just said they have the 10.6. Is that still the size that
Yeah,
is
10.6
most
ride.
popular?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think there's a real value in longevity of the name of the product, so people can trust it. You know, red Palico boards hold their value because I think they're so respected. We don't go changing shapes every year, you know, just for innovation's sake. We only change it if we really need to change it. So yeah, 10.6 is by far our bestseller.
I do think that's brilliant. The name, red, where does that come from?
I ask that question all the time. It's not a very
Just
good
sounded
story,
good.
really. Yeah. Well, I knew I wanted to start this paddleboard brand. I'd already done a few of the designs and a little bit of the material technology, and I just decided I wanted to call it Paddle Company, Paddle Co, something like that. But I didn't have that first word, and I had a friend of mine who helped me in the early days doing some of the graphic design, and I was sitting in his studio. He lives on the north coast of Devon, the county where we live here in the UK, and he lives on a hilltop overlooking a really nice surf beach. He's got a little cabin in his garden, and we were drawing up one day all these kind of stupid names, and they were rubbish. They were awful. And then the sun was going down, and the sky just went bright pink, but bright red. And I
Yeah.
just flippantly said, just call it Red Paddle Company, Red Paddle Co. And he drew it out on his iPad, and I was like, that's it. Perfect.
Brilliant.
So it's like
Got
it
it.
was kind of it was slightly out of desperation, but it kind of fitted, you know. And
Oh, I think that's, yeah,
and then
destiny. And yeah,
and then someone told me that red was the most winningest color. I don't know if that's true, but I was like, well, yeah, that
there you
works.
go.
This was before we were winning anything, but yeah. So that's really came from.
Yeah.
My vision was very much that Red was his parent, that was the brand, and we were going to get really busy doing Red Paddle Company, Red whatever, you know, Red Surf. Just the list went on in my head. We just got so busy doing paddleboards that we never really progressed past that. But we have Red Original now, which is our accessory range, which is going great guns.
Oh, good.
But yeah, that's kind of as far as we've got so far. But that's
Yeah.
cool. I'm
What
happy with
types
that.
of things do you have in your accessory range?
So yeah, Red Original is partly it started off as being sort of paddleboard accessories, so with deck bags and your board sleeves to put your board in to protect them. But one of the major products we are doing is, and it probably hasn't really hit the US, I don't think yet, but is the kind of concept of changing robes, so getting changed at the beach, particularly in colder weather. So we have a thing called a Pro Change jacket, which is a waterproof outer and a kind of a fleece inner. So it keeps you really warm and dry. We're perfect, I would imagine, somewhere like Oregon or Northern California, where, you know, on the coast,
nice.
cold days or cold mornings. So those are just flying. And I'd love the US guys to pick up on that, because I think it's a fantastic product. It's a real
Well,
thing
all
in
along the
the
West
UK.
Coast, the Pacific Ocean's cold. So even though
Yeah,
our
yeah,
air isn't always that
yeah,
cold, we're
yeah,
cold when we get out of the water
yeah.
after, you know, surfing and such. Oh, that's great.
So
And two people say they love your beanies.
yeah, great.
That's under that, probably
People
that
always
label
want a
too.
beanie. We'd actually make one, but we had some promotional ones
Oh,
we
they
put
want
out.
them.
Well,
Okay.
we had some promotional ones we put out, and people go, "Oh, we love those," and we've, like, I don't know, we made a handful of them, but yeah, everyone always wants a beanie. But
Oh, that's funny. Well, I guess you need to. You're right. I
there
didn't
we
read
go.
very carefully.
Yeah,
Do you have beanies?
yeah.
I
No,
want a red paddle
we
beanie.
did.
Okay.
We did. Well, I should probably find some. We probably still got some in a box somewhere, but yeah, we should make some.
There you go. Oh, I should have known that ahead of time and gotten you to give some as prizes, right? Throw
Yeah,
them
yeah.
out there. Yeah. Love it. So, where do you see kind of the market going? I mean, it's been a very, very unusual year.
Yeah.
March and
What?
April, we thought things were going to be crashing
Yeah,
down, and then what
yeah,
a
yeah,
switch around, was it around May or June for you
yeah,
guys in the UK?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So talk
Well,
about the industry and where you see it going.
yeah, so if we rewind back to the beginning, so pre-Red, you know, I was competing, I was racing, I was surfing, and I was for a while there thinking this is the way this sport's going to go. This is going to be a competitive driven sport. You know, I was setting up races in the UK. I had visions that all the triathletes and the Ironman type of competitors would get involved, and we'd be racing and be huge race events. Obviously, I went to the second Battle of the Paddle, and I thought, yeah, this is the way it's going to go. And you know, I'd go home with all this sort of energy from these races, and it wasn't happening. As I said earlier, I then caught on to this kind of like, actually, it's the mass market thing, or the mass consumer, and it's a recreational activity rather than being a dedicated hardcore sport. And that I've stuck to that. I really believe that, and this year's been testament to that, because with this whole social distancing and people being able to not being able to do maybe team sports or close quarter sports, paddleboarding just lends itself perfectly to that. So I think people have realised that there's a whole load of people now have realised actually this is a really good fun thing to do. It's I can do it anywhere. I can do it in different locations, different. I don't have to be an expert in it. So I think it's going to continue to go to rise, and it needs stimulus. And the COVID has been almost a stimulus to give it that second push.
Mm-hmm.
I just mentioned already that cycling. I really feel like it's very similar to the way that cycling has developed over the years. In the UK, we had London 2012 Olympics, and that's the most recent kind of stimulus I can imagine for cycling outside of COVID, obviously, because that's also been good for cycling. But we started to win lots of Team GB were winning lots of medals in cycling, and cycling in the UK suddenly got this a wave of new supporters because there was promotion around it, and cycling just took off again. And it became mainstream. And I think paddleboarding is that. These things just need stimulus, need exposure. And paddleboarding's had that exposure this summer because it's one of the best things to do, socially distanced, but the best thing to do when the lockdown's eased. And I think that will continue on. And people are getting so much from it. What we're seeing in Europe, and maybe you're seeing it as well, is that people are extending their paddle season now. So where maybe a year ago or 2 years ago, it was very much a summer thing. And there's a few hardcore guys like you and me and everyone else going out in the winter because so what, it's cold, we just paddle. But we see we have a fantastic board owners group for Red Paddle Co on Facebook, run by our customers, not by us. And what we're seeing on there is people continuing on through the summer, through the winter. And again, we don't get particularly harsh winters. It's in the UK, it's a bit wet and cold, but it's not icy or anything really. But people are continuing on. So I really feel people have just latched onto this and going to keep going with it. So I just see from an industry point of view, from what we're doing is just trying to keep supplying product to the people that want to go out and enjoy it for the experience, not the technique. So it's not about being the fastest. It's not about turning the tightest on the wave. It's about having the best experience-driven sport is how I see paddleboarding. So yeah, I think the future is brilliant for not only the industry, but also everyone getting involved.
Yeah. And it really is. I mean, I love the analogy always of the bicycle of the water because it's the most versatile watercraft there's ever been.
Yep.
And it is, we know, over 90% recreational, and that is what most people are about.
Yep.
But that does often lead into these others. And I just have to mention, because I do have a red race board, and I have taken it numerous places in the world and done well on it. And it was such a game changer to be able to fly to an island, because I'm not a pro and I'm not sponsored to get paid to go there, but to be able to make it happen. So you have taken off in these different directions that I think people really I see them, if they really get crazy into it like you and I, and we try all the different things. Along those lines, somebody's asking if you're going to do a blow up foil or wingboard.
Toby, not at the moment actually, because it is, again, I'll go back to that mass market thing,
It's not.
It's not really where we are at the moment. It might be something that happens, but we're so focused on making sure the sport doesn't disappear up that pinnacle. It is for everybody. I really feel like that. I really feel like looking after the sport and looking after the recreational, and not just disappearing off on something is fun, but
you're back.
But actually, maybe for everyone else, it's not. So I think it's we want to progress the everyman's product or the all-round product. We don't necessarily want to just go in that kind of hardcore direction.
Right. And there's plenty doing that. And it's always interesting, 12 years in is a long time for stand-up, and yet it isn't in the life of any sport. So we're still very young and still figuring ourselves out. So I always think there are those people who got in so early who tend to be early adopters.
Yep.
And they want whatever's the newest, and they always want that. So we're going to have this leading edge of people who are always pushing the envelope and always want to jump on whatever's the next thing.
Yep.
But that huge general population who are just enjoying it. And you mentioned from the very beginning, one of the what you saw is that it's other people. So as much as it's this socially distanced, great activity to do solo, it is about community. That word comes up every single interview that I have, that it's about people then looking for that. But how do we connect? So there's definitely groups and casual paddles and kind of events that aren't racing types that we're seeing more and more of.
Well, we did a event called the Dragon World Championships we had this thing about what we call maximizing a material advantage. So what can we do that you maybe couldn't do with a composite board? And the fact is that we could make a 4-person race board that you could roll up, put in a bag, check on a plane, and go to Barbados. So we did our first event in Barbados. We did the second one in Austria, the third one in France. This year we didn't do one, obviously, but
Is it coming back?
hopefully, yeah,
I hope so.
hopefully, and
So cool.
4 people on a racing board. That takes your point about race boards just to another level again. It becomes a team sport. It becomes a team. We outrigger canoeing or rowing, for example. Those they work with teams. So I can say, well, why not get paddleboarding working with teams? So it's trying to find different ways to deliver different experiences. I think is important as much as it is trying to follow a performance extreme sport.
I still have that on my bucket list to go to one-year finals. We held in Lake Tahoe an amazing one as part of the Tahoe Nalu for a couple of years, and it got quite competitive. Jim Carroll of Quickblade and some top pros got on one and had a wonderful outrigger cadence. They had all done outrigger, and wow, they could even turn well, which was amazing to me. That's usually the entertaining part, is turning the dragon around a buoy. But so fun. You do have, and I know, again, that 10-6 rides the core, and your focus is on everyman. But I love that you do have some very unique specialty boards within your range. That it's
gonna be fun.
It is.
It's fun,
good
and that's why we played inflatable race boards, because I just thought, could we make a race board that was fast?
Right.
And I just love that feeling when you overtake somebody on a carbon board or something, and they look at you and they think, oh, this is annoying. But the person on the inflatable board is like, this is fun. I'm kind of mixing this up, and same thing with the dragon. It's just a fun thing to do. Why not?
Yeah. One thing that I've seen some of that I've wondered, actually the dragon is an example of it, but is the one design racing. It's that I think having a set of 10-6 rides would be a perfect, so that, and again, it's about the general group, but maybe the regional fun or local race event might be a great gathering, and more of a, include more people, especially this next new wave, if there's boards available there. So there's just a set of boards that you could go race on and race against the same thing, same craft. I also think, as someone as a seasoned racer, it's super fun to race my friends on the same equipment instead of on our individualized equipment, to kind of, level the playing field. So,
absolutely. I mean, we had a plan for the summer just gone, which didn't happen because of COVID, but we decided doing ride outs. And it was very much just for the people who already own our boards, or ideally, but anyone who's got a paddleboard, come along. We've in the UK, for example, we've got some, and as you have in the US, some amazing locations with campgrounds and campsites right by the rivers and the waterways, and just to have a kind of social aspect, because that's what it is. It's that social thing. And even if back to the early days of windsurfing, that social was around racing, but it was just everyone gets together and talk sport, talk kit and talk experiences, and paddleboarding lends itself perfectly to that. So I'd love to do more of that this year, and we'd love to get that going with the whole ride out concept.
That is fun. And I'm getting a lot of interest and requests. We've had some panel talks on, like I mentioned, expeditions and travel. I think people are especially looking for that because maybe they got started with an outdoor activity like stand-up paddling, but it was solo and a little bit more careful during this COVID pandemic. When it's over, I think people are really going to be looking for that kind of thing. Like, how do I meet other people who do this? Where can I go and travel to? So I think it will be continued success for you, for sure. So some challenges and opportunities going forward. What's in the stand-up paddle world? What have you run into so far? Any predict?
I think the challenge is how you can reach people, and obviously there's a lot of product out there. There's a lot of great product out there. There's also a lot of not so great products, and I think we all, as an industry and as kind of the most passionate people in the sport, we need to make sure people are doing it safely, and I think that's the biggest. You can in the summer in the UK and obviously everywhere, I'm sure, you can pick up a board super cheap from the drugstore, from the gas station in some locations, and I think that's great, getting people into the sport, but it's so easy then just to pump it up or put it on the water and get yourself into some kind of difficulty, which obviously we don't want to people to do. So I think us, when I say us, I mean everyone on this live stream watching this, and everyone who's already engaged in the sport has a responsibility to promote safety, and not to the point where it's it's kid glove stuff, but just make sure if you see someone going out, it's offshore winds, or you're going out without a leash or the wrong type of leash. I think we really need to look after the sport for everyone else and for the longevity of it. So I think that's a challenge. And I think we all kind of owe it to each other to make sure that happens. Whether it's leash or weather conditions, I think that's probably the biggest challenge ahead I see, actually. And so, as I said earlier, competition, brands, great, bring it on. But let's just make sure we look after this for the future generations. It's very easy to get it banned somewhere because somebody does something silly or stupid, and you'll get banned at a really great location. So I think we just need to make sure we look after it. But let's be the guardians of the sport. So that's, to me, is the biggest challenge.
Yeah, it is an interesting challenge. And talking to people from all over the world, an interesting challenge just to tie in with that is here in the United States, they decided we were a vessel. And so they categorize us in the boat category as a kayak. So our safety equipment's a little bit different. And so people absolutely freak out when they see pictures of people in the UK with a leash on, but no personal flotation device, because that's how they've been trained. And we have lots and lots of people who don't use leashes here, which I think is, really now knowing what we know in most conditions is one of the more important pieces.
Yes.
Both are great pieces of safety equipment. If you're brand new, use them both. Fantastic.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's funny that there's a little bit of judgment going on around the world when people see something, the leg rope in Australia, the leash, the personal flotation device. Like, what is that? Why are you wearing that? It's the law here. Although people don't even know then. But yes, it is this new group. And to your point about safety, I think we're getting lots of people who aren't familiar with water.
No.
And that's huge because, I live in a coastal town where we have drownings every year because they stand at the shore and there's a shore break or they let their children, they just don't understand the power of Mother Nature.
No.
Those who haven't used the outside. And it's a wonderful thing in terms of health and well-being of our, of humanity, to get people outside, biking and hiking and camping and doing all these things, but they don't have the education and the safety education specifically needed.
That's it. And you can put as many signs and billboards up as you want. People suppose won't read them. The best is education from your fellow paddlers, and done obviously in the nicest possible way, without aggression or anger or something. But it's just I love it actually when I see someone paddling down the river with a paddle back to front and they're with a smile on their face, thinking, this is the essence of this sport. Is that it's experience driven. You don't have to be the best technique. So we tell them, just turn your paddle around and it will just feel that much better. Yeah, and then that's a perfect opportunity to say, and you probably want to get yourself the right type of leash or the right type of PFD. But I think that's it's important. So the brands that are involved in the sport need to be responsible and need to be communicating this. And the paddlers as a whole, as a community, needs to help along with that road. It's not a quick fix. We just need to get on with it.
So, well, I think absolutely true, and that's why we encourage people to lessons and the education. But it is interesting how the people who, again, they start with whatever they start with, but some are grabbing that at the gas station, as you said, piece of equipment without any knowledge and without any expert to tell them. So we love to see them finding their specialty retailer or a brand or somebody where they can, or a forum even where they can ask questions and or take, there's even some, I know in the UK, they just put out an online safety course. What, if you can't get a lesson, what a great thing to be able to do to learn, because there are important things that need to be known. And we, in the industry are concerned about or hope that person who got the piece of equipment without any knowledge has a positive, great experience, because it should be a wonderful experience right from the beginning. We want to make them lifelong paddlers, but sometimes translating that or getting that education and safety is a challenge. But
and I think a good point that you made is the retailers and the schools. They are so important to the longevity of the sport. That that the promotion of good best practice. The world is online. We know that. Here we are talking on a live stream, but you can buy products online. That's great, and there's some really great online retailers. But there are some fantastic bricks and mortar at location of action, as we call it, retailers who are doing a fantastic job spreading the good word and the safety message. So I see there's a question there about sustainability as well. Yeah, and I think that's also that's right. That's important, and it's something that every company should be thinking about, because that's also a responsibility. And eventually, you're probably going to get to a point where if you haven't got a certain level of sustainability in your product model, then you won't be allowed to sell the product. So we work on that. It's difficult because we're mixing natural materials with man-made materials, and obviously we're all trying. The good brands are trying to find ways to help recover that the waste. Our factories now zero waste, so we don't have every
carbon
waste.
Footprint.
It goes back into manufacturing.
Wonderful.
We're working with a great company at the moment, looking at some sustainability on paddles, for example, trying to make paddles that can be recycled or even biodegradable to a point. So there's some really exciting stuff coming down the track for that.
Great.
And we have a big thing we call it DFD, design for disassembly. So we're trying to make everything that could be repairable. I'm old enough to remember that you could repair your car if it broke down, which probably modern cars you can't do so much, but I would spend my teenage, weekends fitting a new carburetor into my old trashy car.
Was it at VW?
It was a VW,
Bug?
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And it kept it going, and so, for example, our pump, everything on our pump, you can replace every part you can replace. We try and do that. We're trying increasingly to do that. It's difficult to do everything, but we're really focused on that. And our design team are really into that. They would love that to create a fully sustainable product. So
love hearing that. Yeah. Back to retailers for a second. You kind of mentioned what are there other things you've seen great retailers do? You mentioned that the connection thing, and that they are,
Well, I just think, I'll go back to the windsurfing days when I was in windsurfing. I worked in a windsurfing shop before. I was a professional windsurfer, and one of the most important things we ever did was we sold any product to anybody, we'd show them how to use it, even if it was just on the beach, how to rig it up, how to set it up, not just from a safety point of view, but also just because they're going to have a better time. And so I think retailers do a really good job. The good retailers do a great job of showing people how. That's what you pay for. Is you're paying for that extra bit, that extra mile, extra bit of service. So I think, I think we love our great retailers who do that. The ones that just, no, I'm saying hopefully we haven't got any of these, but the ones that people come in and go, I want a paddleboard. Yeah, here you go. Give me the cash. Go, see you later. Bye. That's not what we're about. We want retailers who can serve and give good service.
Yeah, fantastic. You are a true global brand. Like, how many countries or continents are you on?
I think I'm like 60 markets or something. So it's and again grown at that kind of grassroots level. So it's not an online direct sell to 60 markets. We've connected with somebody in 60 markets, and one of those 60 markets, and we're quite proud actually, Red, that we've never once picked the phone up or sent an email to anybody prospecting to go, would you like to sell our product? When I started it was just me really in a laptop, and I was just trying to keep up with everything that you have to do when you start a business. So it's always incoming requests. So out of all those people that we work with, they've all come to us and said, I like what you're doing. I'd like to can I get involved? And obviously the answer is normally, yeah, great. Let's work something out. And so now we've got over 1,500 retailers around the world selling our products, probably equally that again as with schools and higher locations. And I'm fairly proud of the fact that we're probably, as a brand, supporting a whole load of people's income, mortgage payments and all those sort of things, because they're part of our bigger, wider community. And I think something good about that. It's not just about that capitalist dollar. You're not just trying to sell as much product to as many people as possible. You're trying to help develop something. So whether it's paddleboarding or a completely different industry, it doesn't really matter. But I think that global spread for me is super important.
I think you have a true culture and community. Absolutely. That's grown. That's so neat to hear that it was that organic. Didn't realize that.
Yeah.
In terms of breakdown by categories, you already said it's definitely that all around board. Is that like 60% or is that 80% of your
I'd say about 60. Yeah, about 60%, and then the touring will be the next biggest, and then we have a few sort of specialist areas. So being windsurfers, we do have a windsurf board in the range that you can to learn to windsurf on. So that takes up a good chunk of the rest of it.
Well, I'll let you know that has come up too because of this new wing. Even if you're not focused on it, your windsurfing board is a perfect stand-up paddle board for those who want to learn the wing, which is an alternative to the windsurf. No mast, but it's popular right now.
Yeah.
And I think it's much more approachable than foiling.
Sure.
And you'll see pictures of people doing all of it. Again, those early people who are throwing it all together. But you can use a wing on a regular stand-up paddleboard if and you can use it on one even with a fin, but if you have the center board, dagger board, it
Exactly.
makes all the difference in
Yeah,
terms of slipping if
yeah.
you're a wind person.
Yes. Yeah. No, yep. So our windsurf board, as we call it, that works well for that as well. So yeah, but yeah, all round touring, probably all round touring. Then sort of special stuff. So the yoga stuff, the windsurf, the racing, whitewater kind of adds up the rest of it.
Yeah, great. So any trends you're seeing? I think we've kind of hits on some of them for sure. The direction of touring, increasing, recreational. Any other trends going forward? I love that you're working on sustainability within your company. It's a challenge, yes, and
Yeah.
thank you though for taking it on.
Well, that's what we call it. Internally we call it taking steps. We accept that you can't make the giant leap in one day. It takes time. So yeah, other trends? No, I don't know really. I think that's just it's not a trend, but it's a mission to try and just keep things going in the straight and narrow, not get too distracted by all the shiny stuff that will just distract you. So we're just trying to give great experiences to people. But I don't really. There's not really another trends I would say that are really. We're busy. We're super busy. We're busy just connecting with as many people as possible and giving good experiences.
Well, Matt, a challenge I would think of this COVID irregular year was that there was fear of things not coming in. Shipping is such an issue, I'm hearing. I mean, it's always been an issue with stand-up paddling, and with an inflatable, you've had a little less perhaps, but there's the usual seasonality of this whole sport and all for, you and the retailers has really gotten mixed up.
Yeah. Well, that's what I think. That's what I was saying earlier. The seasonality is flattened a bit. Actually, we're seeing more people paddle through the winter. We're seeing increased demand in what we would have called the off season, but it's continuing on, which is obviously great, and it's great. That's the hardest thing as a manufacturer of product it's massive peaks and troughs and everything. So trying to keep that consistency going. We're lucky, we're big enough that we keep producing all the time. So we don't have those. We don't have those peaks and troughs anymore, but from a retailer stocking point of view, that's always quite difficult, I think, for those guys to know what to stock when.
Do you have your own factory, or you produce?
Yeah, we run. It's a private facility that we run that only makes our products, and again, that's another benefit for us. We can
big benefit and very unusual in the stand-up paddle world. There's a lot made in the same factories. Yeah.
But
gives you more control.
Yeah, and you a bit more master of your own destiny. Also, it's always your fault if it goes wrong. Good and bad.
The good and bad, both sides of the coin with all of it. Yeah. Well, wonderful. John, what great stories you have about you and the company that, congratulations on what you've built in 12 years. Does it feel like a whole lifetime?
It does. And I always say this, it's not a one man thing. Okay. It was for the start bit, then sort of three of us that started it really, but now we have such a fantastic team in the Red office. They're mostly working remotely at the moment, but 30, I think it's 33. Actually, I was counting up today, going, how many people is it? It's 33 people, and then the wider community as well. It's a team effort, it really is a global team effort. We have a team in Australia that does things that we directly involved with, rather than being a third party wholesaler. I'm really thankful for everybody just getting involved and growing, building into what it is. Red is not just me, far from it these days. So it's fantastic to see that and see the people so passionate behind it.
Well, that's very generous and humble of you to share it, but thank you for taking the time, because you are, to me, the brand and head of the brand and co-founder and CEO. So give yourself a pat on the back. Somebody's got to do that, right? Well, John, stay healthy and happy. I hope it's again end of a very unusual year, but we're finding good things in it too.
Yeah, no, there's loads of positives.
Get through it all soon and be back together in 2021. Traveling and seeing each other in different places, but really fantastic to hear everything about Red and about you. And if you do have any links you want me to share, again, there's a Facebook group, you guys who are listening, and this is recorded, so you can send people who didn't get a chance to hear. You're welcome, Mel. Mel's thanking us both. Mel's from Alaska.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I just say thank you very much for tuning in, and Kristen and the SubConnect team, thanks for giving us a chance to talk. It's always everyone works so hard in the industry, we're head down, we're working, and sometimes it's just nice to stop and do this. This is like a
It
coffee
is.
break, isn't it? So
It is fun. Yes.
yeah, thank you
That's
very
what we could
much.
call it, the coffee break.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Take care and be
Thanks.
well. And thank you, everyone who's listening. Appreciate you being here. Take
Thanks,
care.
guys. Thank you. Bye.